Chapter 211, Meng Security. Practicing skills. I will have to think about it. Zhang Han glanced at Meng and noticed that she was focused on watching cartoons. So, Zhang Han took 2 cans of beers out of the refrigerator, then sat down at the dining table with Zhao Feng and began to think. Which skills should Zhao Feng practice? Zhang Han realized it was a difficult topic. After Zhao Feng realized that it was possible for him to learn Kung Fu, his eyes lit up and he sat with his hands on the dining table like a clever student. However, under his eager gaze, Zhang Han still had no answer, even after drinking the can of beer. So, Zhao Feng could not help asking in a low voice, "Master, is it too difficult to choose a skill that suits me well?" "It's a little difficult." Zhang Han sighed lightly, then shook his head and said something that startled Zhao Feng. "I can't think of any lower-level skills that you can practice." "Ah?" Zhao Feng froze. "Can't I practice some basic skills?" Zhang Han nodded and said, "Once you meet the minimum requirement, you will be able to practice some basic, low-level skills." "Master, what's the minimum requirement?" Zhao Feng asked with a vacant expression. "The early stage of chi refining, my current level." Puff. Zhao Feng almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Master was at the minimum requirement. If this news was heard by the staff from the Security Bureau, they were likely to be shocked. Chi strength masters were already high-ranking roles in their mind, but they were actually the lowest level in his master's eyes. Only the people who reached this level could learn some basic, low-level skills. Zhao Feng inwardly sighed with emotion while giving a wry smile. The people in this world, no matter how formidable they were like frogs at the bottom of the well. Only his master was capable of admiring the scenery outside the well. But Zhang Han's next words caused Zhao Feng to be excited again. Zhang Han said, "Let me think about it. Considering your current level, you can practice some martial arts, but I have to simplify them, or your body won't be able to handle it." Zhang Han knew a lot about body techniques and had used them in the past. However, in Zhang Han's eyes, there was no need for Zhao Feng to learn things like body techniques, because he was not like Dai, who followed the route of body refining, so he did not need to learn those techniques. He could start learning martial arts once he entered the chi refining stage. Although he could not pick up Zhang Han's treasure-searching formulas, Zhang Han knew a lot of high-level martial arts from the Cultivation World. However, since Zhao Feng wanted to learn, Zhang Han could teach him some skills, but what Zhang Han intended to teach him was advanced body refining techniques. Zhao Feng should take the path of improving his strength and refining chi, which was also the current route in the martial arts world. The body refining techniques and martial arts would serve him well in the city. "All right, master, then I'm relieved," Zhao Feng said with happiness. Then, he closed his mouth, shook his head, and said, "Yi Han, Dong Tanping, and Xia Shanhao were all involved today. If I show up, I'll give them the reason to fight against me. As long as I learn your martial arts, I can solve the problems by myself next time." "Them?" Zhang Han smiled faintly and said, "Do they have the guts? Dai can frighten them if he takes action. However, as Dai doesn't appear for several months, they may be tempted. Those people all attach great importance to benefits." After thinking for a while, Zhao Feng said, "Master, why don't I lead Ahu and the others to dominate the territory of New Moon Bay? If that succeeds, we won't be influenced no matter what the others do." Originally Zhao Feng wanted to ignore these trivial matters. However, since he took part in the 10-people fight, his previous retirement had already turned into a joke. In that case, it was better to directly lead Ahu and his men to dominate the underground forces in New Moon Bay. This was also indirectly beneficial to the restaurant, the boss, and Meng. For instance, it would be more convenient to handle small issues. When Zhao Feng came here in the morning, the seed for this idea had taken root in his mind. "Do whatever you want," Zhang Han answered. "Master, I have an idea." Zhao Feng took a gulp of beer and said with his eyes glinting, "In the end, the underground forces aren't above board. I think it would be better to set up a company, that way we can make all the arrangements in advance when you need something. Set one up if you want, Zhang Han said casually. I'll start a bodyguard company. Zhao Feng's eyes narrowed slightly as he thought about it, then he said, when you take Meng Meng out to play, the staff can clear the path. Moreover, when your wife goes out to work, I can send several women to protect her. It will be much more convenient to do things. Once making arrangements for Xian was mentioned, Zhang Han finally showed some interest on his face. After thinking for a moment, Zhang Han nodded and said, okay, do what you just mentioned, create a security company. It's a good idea, so you can start making plans. After handling the treasure on the mountain, you can set out to deal with this matter. Okay. After seeing Zhang Han's expression, Zhao Feng suddenly felt a sense of purpose. He smiled and said, what do you want to name the security company, Master? Just call it. Zhang Han thought for a moment, then simply said, Meng Meng Security. A good name. Zhao Feng thought it was an appropriate name. It made perfect sense for the security company that was serving the little princess, Meng Meng, to be named Meng Meng Security. But Zhao Feng was only concerned that other people would feel like this name sounded a little girly. Anyway, suffice it to say that his master liked it. Besides, Zhao Feng also liked the name very much. Their fondness for it came from the lovely little princess, Meng Meng. Meng Meng Security, Zhao Feng murmured and laughed in a low voice, since his formidable master threw his full support behind this security company. He could already picture the company becoming famous in Hong Kong. But he was wrong. Zhao Feng did not expect Meng Meng Security to become the most powerful security company in the world within a few months. It became famous throughout the world, so much that it was difficult to compete with the bodyguards of this company. With Zhang Han's permission, Zhao Feng was able to do things at ease, so he got in touch with some others in the morning. How to deal with those treasures was also a problem. After all, not just anyone could broker a deal that exceeded 1 billion yuan, and few people would dare to buy such unknown treasures. Zhao Feng, however, still wanted to give it a try. He called several people before finally getting a reply from the last person. I do know an old master. He's the owner of an antique shop in the Wang group. I can make a call for you. Okay, thank you. 10 minutes after he hung up the phone, a strange number appeared on the screen. Zhao Feng answered the phone. Hello, this is Zhao Feng. Yes, I heard that you have a batch of treasure to sell, worth more than 1 billion yuan? That's right. What do you want to sell? There are tons of gold, some antiques, and some diamonds, Zhao Feng answered truthfully. When will it be convenient to let me inspect it? You can come anytime. What's your address? New Moon Bay. New Moon Bay. After a pause, the person who was speaking on the other end of the line said, my lady is at New Moon Bay. I'll inform her about this. Fine. After he finished speaking, Zhao Feng hung up the phone. The other side's words showed that he had a chance selling the treasure. Zhao Feng's cell phone rang again half an hour later. A woman with a sweet voice called this time. She asked about some details. After making an appointment with her, Zhao Feng drove out and met the woman, who was waiting for him at the gate of a large shopping mall. Hey, is it you? The woman suddenly let out a little cry. Excuse me, who are you? Zhao Feng said in doubt. I came to Meng Meng's leisure restaurant for the first time a few days ago. As a result, you know, I'll be going there to have lunch at noon. The woman stuck her tongue out. She was Lin X, the daughter of the chairman of the Wang group. After tasting the dishes at the restaurant, she also indulged in them. Since she was free in the morning, she came to New Moon Bay to go shopping and planned to have a delicious meal at noon in the restaurant. Oh, it seems that the restaurant has attracted another fan, Zhao Feng replied with a chuckle. A fan? Ha, that's right. It's all because the owner of the restaurant cooks such delicious dishes. Lin X twisted her lips into a smile and said, I noticed you sitting at the members' table, but you also cleaned up the restaurant after you finished eating. I used to be a member, but now I follow the boss, so I'm like a waiter in the restaurant. Oh. Lingz nodded her head gently, then glanced at her watch and said, "It's 8:30, let's get to the point first. Where are the goods you mentioned? I'll check them. Come with me." Zhao Feng turned towards the parking lot. "You lead the way and I'll follow you." Lingz responded and got in her red Audi R8. Then followed Zhao Feng's car to Mount New Moon. After parking at the foot of the mountain, Lingz followed Zhao Feng up the mountain. After passing through the jungle, Lingz's eyes gradually widened. Wow, what a beautiful place. These flowers are really beautiful. The grass is so neat, and that tree is very tall. Huh? Why is there a chimpanzee? So many animals. Zhao Feng had already anticipated this situation. Staring at the back hill, he smiled and said, "This paradise was created by my boss for his daughter. The ingredients used at the restaurant are all produced here. Everything here is organic. No, to be precise, it's much better than organic food. That's so great." Lingz said with amazement. "I'll show you the goods," Zhao Feng said. Then he led her to the Thunder Yang tree. He had thought the two of them would draw the attention of the two high powers, but they were lying lazily on the grass in the pet area. They did not want to move at all, so they ignored them when they caught sight of them. However, when Dai saw Lingz pick up the treasures to inspect them, he stared, then quickly got up and came running over. Ooh, 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 ooh. Dai let out a cry. His expression seemed to say, "Stop, don't move, and put that down." After yelling, Dai angrily ran over with Little Hai. Looking at Dai's posture, it seemed like he planned to attack Lingz. Zhao Feng walked forward in a hurry and quickly said, Hey, don't be impulsive, she's one of us." Dai, calm down, she's a person that was invited by Master. If you attack her, the Master will punish you cruelly. His words were enough to stop Little Hai, who was already approaching Lingz. Chapter 212 to 1.32 billion yuan. Hiccup. Little Hai turned and ran away. It still remembered its host's words, if a dog was not obedient, he would stew it. Dai also stopped. It stared and scratched its head. Ooh, 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 ooh. I wouldn't dare to move without my master's permission. It's my master's order. Zhao Feng explained with a wry smile. Ooh. Hearing his words, Dai curled his lips and washed his hands of the matter. However, when he was about to leave, Dai reached out and pushed Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng took 7 steps back to the side, almost falling to the ground. Ha, ha. After laughing contemptuously, Dai turned around and walked back. Zhao Feng turned back to the Thunder Yang tree with a fixed expression. What were they just doing? Lingz asked fearfully. They were playing a joke on me. We're on good terms and usually play around together, said Zhao Feng, with as much composure as he could muster. They're really intelligent. Lingz shook her head, then she stared meaningfully at the gold and said, all the gold is pure, but it's rare for an individual to have such a large amount of gold. Let me inspect the antiques and diamonds. Lingz took out some professional tools and began to test them. About an hour later, Lingz stood up, paused for a moment, and then announced the results of her inspection. There are 32 antiques in total, of which 26 are genuine and 3 are imitations. The remaining 3, which I cannot authenticate, should be taken back and verified by a professional. These all are real diamonds. Oh, what is the estimated value? Zhao Feng asked, nodding his head. The turnover is about 1.3 billion yuan. On account of the huge amount, I will have to consult my father. As she spoke, Lingz took out her mobile phone. Okay. Lingz took her phone and walked towards the sea of flowers at the front mountain. She dialed her father's number while admiring the beautiful flowers. What's the matter, Xuanhuan? I'm still in a meeting. If there's nothing wrong, I'll call you back later, Lin's father said. Dad, there's a big deal, Lingz answered directly. How much? Asked Lin's father. It will probably exceed 1.3 billion yuan. How much? Her father's voice became louder. 1.3 billion yuan was quite a lot of money. Her father was obviously startled when he heard the news all of a sudden. In reality, his current assets were less than 2 billion yuan, so it was not easy to make such an expensive purchase because it would affect his current business plans. However, everything depended on interest. If the profit margin was high, he would buy them, but he still needed to ask about the details on this batch of goods. The overall value exceeds 1.3 billion yuan. It includes several tons of gold, a small box of diamonds, and 26 genuine antiques. I can't identify the other 3 antiques, which are all bronze wares. If they are real, then their value won't be low. Lin's told him every last detail. So much. Lin's father's eyes narrowed and he said, "Whose goods? This is such a large amount. Were the goods acquired legally? I don't know. I'm at the place with the batch of goods and I've only just finished inspecting them. Why don't you bring some people to have a look? If you buy this batch of goods, there will be a lot of benefits," Ling said in a low voice. "Fine, I'll bring some people over there right now. Where are you?" "I'm in Paradise." "What?" Lin's father was a little confused. "I don't know, give me a moment and I'll ask," Ling said with a smile. After returning to the Thunder Yang tree and asking Zhao Feng, she told her father she was on Mount New Moon. Having fixed the appointment time, Ling hung up the phone. About an hour later, her father bought 7 or 8 people and rechecked the goods. Ling's assessment was completely correct. The 3 bronze wares she could not identify were also authentic, and they were antiques of great influence, which made the appraisers excited. Ahem. Lin's father coughed softly, then looked at Zhao Feng and asked, "May I ask more about the origin of the goods?" "You don't need to know the origin." Zhao Feng waved his hand and said bluntly, "I want to know if you can buy this batch of goods. How much do you want for this batch of goods?" After thinking for a moment, Lin's father asked, "I've already spoken to someone about this batch of goods and know the value. Just quote me a price. I think we can make a deal directly," Zhao Feng said heartily. Lin's father was lost in thought. After pondering for 2 minutes with his eyebrows furrowed, he finally spat out a few words. "For this batch of goods, 1.32 billion yuan. Deal," Zhao Feng said, then chuckled and nodded his head. According to the people Zhao Feng spoke with, the treasure was expected to garner between 1.2 billion yuan and 1.35 billion yuan. Zhao Feng was quite satisfied with selling it for 1.32 billion yuan. After all, it was stolen. Even he had not expected that Tang Zhan had so many assets. "We can make a deal, but the contract needs to be dealt with differently than normal." After thinking for a while, Lin's father said, "I don't want to risk having this batch of goods being confiscated by the officials after we buy them. Therefore, after the transaction is finished, we will sign a contract. If this batch of goods doesn't have any problems within a month, the funds will be transferred to your account. If there are any problems, then a month." Zhao Feng frowned slightly. 1 month isn't that long. It will take us about 3 or 4 months to sell the goods. Ling added with a smile. 1 month is too long. Half a month, Zhao Feng said, after pondering for a moment. His worry was understandable. After all, the origin of these treasures was unknown. Half a month. Lin's father thought about it, then nodded in agreement. "Wait, I have one more condition." Once they had finished the deal, Lin quickly interrupted. "What's the condition?" asked Zhao Feng. "I want a membership card for the restaurant. Considering the 1.3 billion yuan deal, can your boss give me a membership card?" Lin pursed her lips in a smile. "A membership card?" Zhao Feng was a little speechless. He said, "My lady, you definitely have enough money to buy one for yourself. Buying a membership is not the same as being given one by the boss. Besides, it costs 10 million yuan. My father is usually very stingy and isn't willing to spend 10 million yuan on me." Lin gave her father an angry stare while speaking. "I can't make that decision. so I will have to ask my boss. Zhao Feng directly took out his mobile phone and called Zhang Han. After hearing his words, Zhang Han gave a simple reply. I refuse. Zhao Feng told Ling Zhu the result with a wry smile. He's too stingy. He won't give me a membership card, even though he has so much money. Ling Zhu pouted and murmured. At this moment, Lin's father looked at his daughter in confusion. He began to be curious about Zhao Feng's boss. Moreover, which membership card costs 10 million yuan. He, however, did not delve too deeply into this matter. He took the goods away and signed a contract with Zhao Feng at his company. After signing the contract, Zhao Feng left. As for Lin's father, he did not intend to celebrate. He would be busy for a long time with the workload from this batch of goods. If he planned things out well, he could sell the goods for more than 1.5 billion yuan and make a profit of over 200 million yuan. However, everything that happened here was immediately passed on to Dong Xiangchuan, the chief constable, who did not give any orders. The Security Bureau had already announced the news that the senior personnel would come to New Moon Bay to handle this matter soon. All he could do was monitor Zhao Feng and the restaurant. He did not have any ideas regarding the news that Zhao Feng had sold the goods. Taking the money back was the same as taking the treasure. As long as Zhao Feng did not run away, he did not have to take action. All he could do was wait for the superiors of the Security Bureau to make a decision. Zhao Feng and Ling Zhu left the company and returned to the restaurant together. It was exactly 11:30, which was lunch time. Zhang Han was preparing lunch in the kitchen of the restaurant, while Meng was lying on the sofa, fiddling with toys. Boss. Zhao Feng went to the kitchen and whispered to Zhang Han, the goods have been sold for 1.32 billion yuan, but it will take half a month for the money to be transferred into the account. Zhang Han did not lift his head and just continued preparing the ingredients. Shall I use your credit card for the transaction? I haven't left them the card number, Zhao Feng replied. No, you can handle it yourself, Zhang Han said flatly. 1.3 billion yuan was like 13 yuan in his eyes. However, Zhao Feng knew that was the truth. Even he was not very excited when he got the 1.3 billion yuan, because his vision had totally been broadened. Money meant nothing to him. Zhao Feng nodded and returned to the table to sit down. Realizing that they had finished talking, Ling Zhu, who was standing nearby, got up and walked over to Zhang Han. She sized Zhang Han up with curiosity. What's the matter? Zhang Han looked at her strangely. What was this girl going to do? I'm the person who made a deal with you, but you wouldn't give me a membership card, even though the transaction has been finished. Ling Zhu snorted softly. I won't give out membership cards, Zhang Han answered directly. You're so stingy. Ling Zhu rolled her eyes at him. She looked at the counter in the kitchen and asked, will there be any delicacies for the members at noon? There will be 6 roast ducks, Zhang Han answered flatly. It went without saying that the meat quality of the ducks from Mount New Moon was definitely higher than that of 5A. After considering it for a while, Zhang Han made up his mind to cook roast duck. Zhang Han was a veritable native of Beijing, so he was naturally familiar with Beijing roast duck. The dishes Zhang Han often ate were made by the 3 classic roast duck restaurants in Shangjing. The first restaurant, named Quainuda, was famous for its traditional, time-honored brand and techniques. The second was Cheap Square, which was characterized by its cold-stoking technology and the fact that they attached great importance to nutrition. The third one was Dadong Roast Duck, whose main purpose was to segment the market and serve high-end customers. It was one of the main places for foreign guests to taste roast duck. Gurgle. Ling Zhu secretly swallowed her saliva as delicious roast ducks floated in her mind, causing her stomach to growl. After looking Zhang Han, who remained calm, she snorted heavily and said, very well, you win, okay, I'll buy a membership card. Such a stingy boss, how do I pay? Come with me. Zhao Feng smiled, then got up and took Ling Zhu to the bar with a laptop on it, after which He took Zhang Han's bank card out from the drawer. After several days of business, the whole drawer was filled with money. Noticing how the money was scattered around, Lingz curled her lips. Transfer the money. Zhao Feng handed over the credit card. Chapter 213, a 10 million yuan level member. I'll transfer it. Lingz grunted while sulking, then grabbed the bank card and transferred 10 million yuan to the account according to the figures above. The money was given by her father as a reward since the profit margin on the goods was so high. After transferring the money, Lingz sat in the members section with Zhao Feng. A moment later, a message notification came from Zhang Han's cell phone, announcing that the sum of money had been transferred into his account. The first 10 million yuan level membership card had been sold. After preparing all the ingredients, Zhang Han went to the counter, took out the black diamond-encrusted membership card numbered 11, walked over to Lingz and handed it to her, then said, "Here's your membership card. I finally got a membership card. That's more like it. I should obtain something since I spent 10 million yuan." After taking the membership card and peering at it for a moment, Lingz put it away happily. "Boss. The Wang family, the Sun Donging's family, together with us, occupy these 3 tables. Unless Lingz wants to sit alone, there are not enough seats," Zhao Feng said. "That's right, I don't want to sit with strangers at the same table," Lingz replied while nodding. "Oh." Hearing her words, Zhang Han glanced around and noticed that he could only make room in front of the window on the side of the piano. Zhang Han, therefore, pointed to the decorative shelves in front of the window and said, "Throw those shelves away and buy some tables and chairs." The instant he finished speaking, Zhang Han turned back towards the kitchen. "Okay." Zhao Feng responded, then got up and went over to take all those shelves to the garbage can outside. When he returned to the restaurant, he glanced at Lingz and said, "I'm going to buy the tables. Do you want to come with me? That way you can choose the style you like." "Fine." Lingz replied with a smile and got up to go shopping with Zhao Feng. The two of them came back half an hour later. They bought 3 small European-style square tables and 6 chairs, all of which were very luxurious. Many people were already waiting in line outside the restaurant at this point. When they saw Zhao Feng and a beauty carrying tables and chairs, they were shocked. "What happened? Is the boss going to add more tables? Doesn't that mean that the queuing time will be reduced?" "That's great. The boss finally added some more tables and chairs." "Stop dreaming. I think there's another new member." "Hiss, is that even possible? It costs 10 million yuan to be a member now." "I don't know, just take a look." People were kicking up dust, and almost everyone looked over. Under their gazes, Zhao Feng and Lingz placed all the tables and chairs in the direction of the window on the right side of the restaurant. Zhao Feng seemed to hear what everyone was talking about. He chuckled, took out a pen from the computer counter, then walked to the sign in front of the door and changed the number on it. "Memberships sold, 1120. After he finished writing, Zhao Feng returned to the restaurant with a calm expression. At this time, a curious person got up and walked over. After looking at what was just written, his eyes gradually widened. "My gosh, it's true. Oh my god, another membership card was sold." The news immediately rippled through the crowd of people who were lined up. "My god, a 10 million yuan membership card. I can't even think about it. That young beauty unexpectedly spent 10 million yuan to buy a membership card. How much is she worth? My god, she must be a super rich second generation. There's no need to think about it, she's absolutely rich." This restaurant is really frightening. Even a 10 million yuan membership card was sold. How terrifying. Not only the people outside, but even Liang Mengkai, Sun Donging, Sun Ming, and the other members looked at Lingz, who was sitting alone at the window, with curiosity. They had guessed that she was the new member and knew that a new member needed to pay 10 million yuan. They also thought the people who spent 10 million yuan on a membership card had to be extraordinary. At the very least, considering his current assets, Sun Ming did not think he could buy it. Meanwhile, Yu Qingqing and Zhao Du also could not afford a 10 million yuan membership card. Liang Mengkai, however, was calm. Even if this membership card had cost 10 million yuan, she could buy one if she wanted, because her value was much higher than Ling's. Hey, is she the new member? After Zhao Feng sat down, Yu Qingqing asked with some curiosity. That's right, she bought the membership card today. Zhao Feng nodded and answered. Wow, 10 million yuan, so terrifying. Zhao Du grinned while making an offensive sound. Under normal circumstances, Yu Qingqing would definitely turn back and scold him, get lost, so disgusting, but she ignored him and sized up Ling's with some surprise, then she shook her head and exclaimed. That's great, she bought a 10 million yuan membership card. Ah, the boss can easily make a fortune. Ha ha, this money is negligible in the boss's eyes, Zhao Feng said with a chuckle. The boss was about to get 1.32 billion yuan, so a 10 million yuan membership card was just a small appetizer. Negligible? Liang Mengkai looked at Zhao Feng strangely and pursed her mouth, then she looked at Zhang Han with splendor in her eyes and said, I know the boss isn't an ordinary person, he must be very powerful, otherwise I wouldn't be interested in him. Eh? Zhao Feng froze all of a sudden. He felt like he had just shot himself in the foot. Poof! Yu Qingqing suddenly choked on her own saliva, which attracted Liang Mengkai's and Zhao Feng's attention. They looked over, only to find that Yu Qingqing's eyes were staring in the direction of the door. After turning around, the two people figured out what was happening. A man in clean clothes had come in with 2 plastic bags which contained a total of 6 roast ducks. Roast ducks? Liang Mengkai's eyes brightened. Under the public's gaze, the man carrying the roast ducks went to the kitchen, then smiled at Zhang Han and said, Boss, your roast ducks are ready. The quality of these ducks is completely beyond description. They're so fragrant and wonderful. Zhang Han took the bag and nodded his head gently. Cheers then. The man smiled and turned to leave. At this point, Yu Qingqing rushed over. While staring at the roast ducks in the bag, she swallowed a mouthful of saliva and said, Boss, are we having roast duck for lunch? Can't you see them? Zhang Han was a little speechless. The 6 roast ducks were right there. Why was she even asking such a question? Ha, it's a big surprise. Yu Qingqing did not feel embarrassed but smiled and went back. Zhao Feng, are these roast ducks bought or not? Liang Mengkai looked at Zhao Feng and asked. They're local ducks of best quality that were raised by the boss. You can have some later. The taste is definitely the best, Zhao Feng answered with a smile. I'll eat more. Liang Mengkai stuck her tongue out and licked her lips. Looking at Liang Mengkai, Zhao Feng became somewhat dazed. He thought Liang Mengkai's casual movement was very sexy. Now that the roast ducks had arrived, Zhang Han quickly removed the egg fried rice from the pan and placed the 6 roast ducks on 6 different plates. Without turning around, Zhang Han reached back with his arm and pulled out the peeling knife from the knife holder. Everyone looked over at this time. They knew that the boss was about to do something interesting. Sure enough, under the people's gazes, the knife gleamed. Zhang Han's hand started to move, and the knife cut into the ducks in quick succession. However, after he had finished cutting the 6 ducks, their outward appearance had not changed at all. What happened? Was everything the boss just did only for show? People were shocked and suspicious. Even Zhao Du said strangely, the roast ducks have not changed at all. The boss's knife didn't cut into the ducks, did it? However, Zhang Han's next move surprised them all. He stretched out 2 fingers and grabbed a duck head from the outermost plate, then gently lifted it. Clatter. The whole skeleton of the duck was directly removed. The meat had been cut into pieces of uniform size, like a beautiful picture. Then, the second one, the third one. Every time Zhang Han grabbed the head of a duck, he would pull out the entire skeleton. The pieces of roast duck meat were cut so precisely that everyone could even see its outline. What? My gosh, it's absolutely amazing. So much for the skilled and magical craftsmanship in ancient times. People were so shocked that they even forgot to get food and were all sitting still for a long time. People did not react until Zhang Han finished preparing the ingredients and put 2 plates of roast duck on the round table. Liang Mengkai and the others all went over and filled their bowls with noodle soup or egg fried rice, after which, they returned to their seats to enjoy it, along with a portion of roast duck and some other side dishes. However, since there were so many side dishes, they did not know why he had prepared them, so they looked at Zhang Han. Zhang Han chuckled. While feeding Meng Meng, he explained. There are 3 ways to eat authentic Peking duck. The first method is suitable for people who don't eat scallions or garlic. You dip the crisp duck skin in a little white sugar. It tastes sweet and smells great. Here you go, Meng Meng, have a taste. While speaking, Zhang Han picked up a piece of meat with skin on it and dipped it in the white sugar, then put it in Meng Meng's mouth. It's so delicious, sweet, and fragrant, Meng Meng said while waving her small arms. Liang Mengkai and others also gave it a try, only to realize that when the roast duck was eaten in this way that they had not tried before, it gave it a different flavor, especially Ling's, who was nodding on one side. She liked the taste very much. The second way to eat it is to add onion strips and sweet flour paste. You can also add cucumber strips and radish strips. Use chopsticks to pick up some sweet flour paste. Spread it on the lotus leaf cake, add a few slices of roast duck, a few onion strips, and some cucumber strips or radish strips. Then, you roll up the lotus leaf cake. Meng Meng, have a try. Zhang Han rolled one for Meng Meng. Meng Meng grabbed it and nibbled at it. Judging by her expression, everyone could tell it was delicious. Liang Mengkai and some others had tried this way before. But the roast duck they had eaten was not as delicious as the roast duck here. The pure flavor of duck meat and crispy skin was definitely one of life's simple pleasures. The third way to eat it is to add mashed garlic and sweet flour paste, or add radish strips, etc. Eating duck meat with lotus leaf cakes is also a popular dish in ancient times. Mashed garlic can counteract greasiness. Dipping the slices of duck meat in mashed garlic and sweet flour paste can add a spicy flavor. Because of those things, it will have a unique flavor. Meng Meng, try this. Zhang Han made a duck roll again. Chapter 214, The Authentic Roast Duck. After Meng Meng took the duck roll, she took a bite of it. Then she stretched out her small arm and handed the roll to Zhang Han. Then, with a soft voice, she said, Papa, you should eat some too. Eat it, don't give all the tasty food to Meng Meng. Haha. Okay. Zhang Han gave a light laugh and took a small bite of the duck roll. Up till now, this was Zhang Han's first bite Meng Meng had given him since she was born. He had always given the delicious food to his precious daughter in the first place. Subconsciously, perhaps, this reflected the growth of a man, as well as a father's subconscious love for his daughter. While they were eating, Wang Qi and Wu Liang came in with Wang Yihan and Suyu. Meng Meng, Meng Meng, Meng Meng, Meng Meng, here I come. Wang Yihan cried excitedly. Hey, why did you come so late? I missed you so much. Yihan, come and enjoy the roast duck, it's very delicious. Meng Meng curled her little mouth and said, Ah, roast duck, I like it. Hey, hey, hey. A grinning Wang Yihan ran to sit beside Meng Meng. Aunt, sit down. Please, please sit here. Meng Meng pointed to Wang Yihan's left. Thank you, Meng Meng. Suyu smiled and sat down. It looks fantastic. Wang Yihan looked at the roast duck on the plate. Her saliva almost dripped from her mouth. Suyu, who was beside her, was not any better. As a rich young lady, Suyu had eaten a lot of delicious food, but the food here gave her the best dining experience she'd ever had. While looking at the pieces of roast duck, Suyu also became quite excited. Yihan, Don't eat it directly, you should eat it properly. There are several ways. Meng Meng looked at Zhang Han while speaking. Zhang Han demonstrated the 3 ways again. Suyu prepared it in a decently. She gave the properly wrapped duck rolls to Wang Yihan, who quickly gulped one down. Reality had proven why it made sense that she was overweight. Meanwhile, although Lingz didn't turn her head, she was all ears. She tried the roast duck with the 3 methods given by Zhang Han, and the taste fascinated her. However, her favorite method was dipping the duck skin in a little white sugar. While in a light trance, Lingz finished her lunch. Although the members ate very joyfully, it was a rough experience for the normal customers. But it was a little easier for them this time, since Pearson, whose mouth was like a machine gun, was not here. If he had been there, it would have been a nightmare for them. After Meng Meng finished dinner, she spoke to Wang Yihan cheerfully. Hurry up, Yihan. No, I can still eat a lot more. Wang Yihan answered vaguely while still eating the food. Oh, I'm going to take you to the paradise. It's very beautiful. My papa built it for me. There's big Hi-Hi and little Hi-Hi, and a lot of dogs. Oh, I often go to visit them. They are my good friends. Meng Meng said with her small mouth. A lot of dogs? Wang Yihan's eyes shone brightly as she glanced at Meng Meng with some hesitation. Yes, there are many dogs. Please eat quickly and we will go after you finish. Then I. Wang Yihan glanced at the duck roll in her hand. Although she was full, she still wanted to eat several more, so she quickly stuffed some duck meat into her mouth, then jumped out of the chair and blurted out, I have finished eating. Giggle. Meng Meng smiled, looked at Zhang Han, and said, Papa, let's go to the paradise and play. Yihan and I are both ready. All right. Zhang Han agreed with a nod first, then smiled gently. But you have to rest for a few minutes after the meal, and Yihan's mama hasn't finished eating yet. How about waiting for 10 minutes? It will take so long. Meng Meng pouted. Hey, let's just wait a little while. I'd like to have a few more bites. Wang Yihan climbed back into the chair with great speed. Wang Yihan, you can't eat any more. You almost ate half a duck. You can't get any fatter. Suyu frowned and said. Then I'll only eat one more piece, okay? The carefree Wang Yihan spoke with a negotiating tone. But from the little girl's expression, Suyu knew that if she didn't agree, she would probably cry. So Suyu sighed slightly and said in a somewhat helpless tone, well, then, one last piece, but no more after that. Since it's the last one, please make it extra large, Wang Yihan said happily. In the end, Suyu rolled her a medium-sized one, and she didn't ask for more after finishing it. A few minutes later, once Suyu had finished eating as well, Meng Meng, who was staring at her the whole time, suddenly asked. Papa, shall we go now? Here we are, let's go. Zhang Han looked at Meng Meng's expectant little eyes and said with a smile. Great, let's go to the paradise, Yihan, let's go. Meng Meng couldn't wait to get down from the chair and ran out of the restaurant with Wang Yihan. Zhang Han and Suyu got up and followed them out. Suyu was intending to take Wang Yihan in her Porsche Panamera, but the little girl wanted to sit with Meng Meng, so Suyu got in the panda car too. When they arrived at Mount New Moon, Suyu was really surprised by the scenery. What a beautiful place, Mr. Zhang. Did you build it exclusively for Meng Meng? Suyu asked curiously. Zhang Han nodded. It's amazing. Suyu knew that it would cost a lot of money to build a place like this. It seemed that Mr. Zhang was very unusual and had good taste. This made her evaluation of Zhang Han rise significantly. As they walked forward, Suyu was intoxicated by a sea of flowers. She murmured softly. What fascinating flowers, the shape of them is perfect. If you give it to a girl, you will definitely win her heart. She thought, if Wang Jiang carried such beautiful flowers for her when he was pursuing her, they might have gotten together half a year earlier. Oh, Zhang Han, however, seemed to suddenly recall something. He glanced at the fragrant roses and hesitated. It seemed that Zhang also liked those flowers very much. When she came back, Zhang Han felt that he could do something. It was not only because of the issues with Meng Meng's living arrangements, he himself also had this thought. He could feel that Zhang seemed to be more and more attractive to him. Her casual shy words, her occasional charming eyes, her frequent jabs, her chuckles and smiles, all of them flashed through Zhang Han's mind. He knew it might not be love, but it was at least at the level of a crush. Did Mr. Zhang grow these flowers or did someone else do it? Suyu turned back and asked curiously. I did it. It's really impressive. It seems that Mr. Zhang must be a master gardener since you can raise such beautiful flowers, Suyu said with a slight smile. Mastery is out of my league. Zhang Han shook his head slightly. Raising flowers? He didn't have any idea how to do that since he had never studied it. He just planted these flowers and they naturally grew into their most perfect state. Wow, it's really a gorilla. It's really a big gorilla. When Suyu saw Dai, she let out a shout. Along the way, Meng Meng had already told them about Dai and Little Hai, so she had been psychologically prepared and was not shocked to see Dai. Dai, hug and throw me high, cried Meng Meng as she stretched out her small arms. Ooh. Dai gently picked Meng Meng up and threw her into the air. This scene stunned Suyu as she didn't expect the gorilla to be so human. When Zhang Han and Suyu got closer, Meng Meng was already shouting, oh, Dai, let me down, it's Yihan's turn. So, Dai released Meng Meng and held out his palms, preparing to pick up Wang Yihan under the command of Meng Meng. Hey, can I do it? Wang Yihan said with some nervousness. Yes, it's fun, it's very interesting. Meng Meng shared her experience with Yihan. In the end, Wang Yihan experienced the feeling of flying. Dai didn't pay attention to Suyu. Since she was not the hostess, he would not throw her high. After playing for a while, Meng Meng led Wang Yihan to the pet area in the back mountain. When Yihan saw so many dogs, her eyes were full of luster. Suyu was a little worried, however. After all, dogs had bacteria on them. Although she also liked dogs, they didn't have any pets at home because Yihan was still a child. Zhang Han shook his head slightly after seeing Suyu's expression. He explained that the dogs on Mount New Moon were clean and healthy, and that there were no bacteria to be afraid of. But Suyu was still skeptical. After all, it seemed a little strange to her, but she did not say anything. Since they had come, she should just let her daughter have fun. However, Suyu was indeed surprised at the livestock and planting area in the back mountain. She acclaimed the man's greatness as a father secretly. Wang Yihan, however, was a little envious and said, I will ask my father to build a paradise too. The words made it so that Suyu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. If Wang Jun had this sort of skill, she would have been his girlfriend much earlier. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Zhang called, Zhang Han, I will be boarding the plane in a moment. I'm heading to Shangjing to take part in a program. Zhang Han replied. Zhang pouted. What did he mean? Why didn't he show any concern for me? So Zhang snorted slightly and said somewhat angrily, why do you always act like this when I call you? I won't call you again if you continue acting this way. Ah? Zhang Han was stunned for a moment. What did she mean? After thinking for a moment, Zhang Han still asked, what about your program in Jiangqing? The program was ruined and unlikely to be played. It's unclear how the program in Shangjing will go. If it goes well, the effect should be good, Zhang answered slowly. Well, if you have any trouble in Shangjing, just call me, Zhang Han said with a chuckle. That's because Shangjing is Mr. Zhang's territory. That must be why you are confident. Why didn't you say anything when I went to Jiangyu and before? Zhang snorted and laughed. No, I mean if you are in trouble, I will go there myself. There's nothing I care about in Shangjing, Zhang Han replied casually. Chapter 215, Recruitment of Personnel. This reminded Zhang of the 5 years when Zhang Han had a very hard time. She was silent and felt somewhat sad for Zhang Han. He had been forlorn and hopeless after being expelled by the Zhang family. Even his close brothers did not lend a helping hand under the pressure of the family. Although they tried to give Zhang Han some money, the stubborn man would not accept it. Xian was silent for a few seconds before she heard the voice of a woman. She was immediately stunned. "A woman? Where are you?" Xian's voice became a little chilly. "I'm on Mount New Moon." "Did you take a woman up there?" There was a hint of questioning in Xian's tone. Zhang Han took a woman to the beautiful Mount New Moon? He actually showed such a beautiful place to others. What if the woman was fascinated by him? What if the woman was obsessed with him? Mount New Moon was built for her daughter. How could he take another woman up there? Xian felt angry, thinking, what a bastard, another average and disgusting man, a humongous bastard. He actually hooked up with other women while she was away. Zhang Han seemed to feel the anger in Xian's tone. He quickly replied, "No, what are you thinking? That's the mother of Meng Meng's friend." Xian snorted softly in response and said nothing. However, she was muttering in her mind, "The mother of Meng Meng's friend? Who is she? Does she have a husband? Is she a single mom? She is the daughter-in-law of a restaurant member. Her husband is busy so he didn't come today. She came with her kid. Meng Meng wanted to bring her friend to the mountain, so I brought them." Zhang Han explained everything carefully. "Anyway, except for me, the hostess, other women can't go there," Xian said very aggressively. Zhang Han was a bit speechless. It was not his idea to bring others up here. Ouch. At that time, Zif, who had been holding back beside Xian for a while, finally opened her mouth in an exaggerated fashion. Like Dai, she ridiculed Xian and said, "Me? The hostess, you sound so jealous. Spouting nonsense." Xian's pretty face turned red and rolled her eyes at Zif, then she snorted softly and said, "Anyway, other women can't go to Mount New Moon when I'm not around. Do you agree or not? Okay, I promise you." Zhang Han smiled and shook his head. "Fine, Xian smiled and said a little smugly, "Well, it's time for me to board the plane, so I won't be able to talk to Meng Meng. I'll call from the hotel later this evening." "Okay." Zhang Han finished speaking and hung up the phone. From the sound of Xian's words, he could see that she was in a good mood, which made him feel reassured. Whatever happened at work, the important thing was that she had a good mood. Zhang Han didn't care about worldly wealth and trivial matters. What did he fail to experience during the 500 years of his cultivation? What he cared about was only one thing, having a home. But Zhang Han did not know that the trouble had just begun. Some people were already preparing to cause trouble for Xian. At Jiangyuan TV station, the three judges from that day, led by the obese guy, came out of the chief operator's office with a smirk on their faces. That Xian is such a fool, she actually offended the upper echelons of her company. The man with glasses said and hissed, "Stupid girl, actually, with her beauty and her popularity before, if she cooperates with Mr. Li, isn't she definitely going to become popular again? What's the use of pretending to be a pure girl? It's so funny," the fat guy said dismissively. "But she really is a beauty. If I could spend one night with her, I would be willing to give up several years of my life." The middle-aged man with a flat head grinned. "Stop thinking about it. For such a pretty girl like her, only those influential people can enjoy her. I suggest you go to the club and find your third chick," the fat man said with a smirk. "It seems as if you two haven't gone to the club." The crew-cut man curled his mouth. Fatty. At this time, the skinny glasses man thought for a moment and said, "Call Mr. Li and explain the matter to him. If we receive the money today, I'll treat you guys tonight at the Hongyi Yuan Club." "Okay, I will ask him now." The fat man took out his mobile phone laughingly and dialed a number. "Mr. Li, you will probably see Mrs.'s program this evening. I have edited the video, and I guess the effect will be surprisingly good." The fat man got straight to the point. "Okay, I'm confident in regards to your competence. Mr. Li, About the reward you promised? Send me your bank card number. I will transfer it to you right now. Li Cheng finished speaking and hung up the phone directly. In less than a minute, Li Cheng received a bank card number and immediately transferred 3 million yuan to it. After that, he lit a cigarette, walked to the window, looked at the scenery downstairs, and smirked. Oh, Xian, there is no way for you to escape from my palms. Wang Yihan and Meng frolicked for the whole afternoon, with sweat covering their foreheads. They were running and jumping in the pet area and randomly asking Dai to throw them high. It was not until 5:30 p.m. that the two little girls had finally played enough. Zhang Han took 5 lion-headed geese. Zhang Han cooked them with the same method as last time, spiced geese with foie gras. This time, Zhang Han made pan-fried goose livers and Suyu couldn't stop praising it after she enjoyed them. Wang Yihan, however, was very concerned about her father, so she insisted on taking a few pieces of goose meat back for him to taste. As she was Meng's good friend, she didn't have to obey the rules of the restaurant. As a result, the girl directly brought back almost half a goose. Rules were meant to be broken, but, in this restaurant, there was only one loophole in the rules, and that was Meng. After dinner, there was nothing to do in the restaurant, so Zhao Feng sat down for a while. Then, around 9:30 p.m., he left the restaurant and went to the Fengming nightclub. At this time, the restaurant was very boisterous. Guchen and others were sitting at 30 tables, just like a wedding banquet. This made the manager of the restaurant both happy and a little frightened. 30 tables of good alcohol and dishes were indeed very profitable, but he also knew the identities of these people. Last time they even had a fight. Fortunately, the young lad was strong enough to put his opponent down with ease. Otherwise, the restaurant would have been in turmoil. Call our big hero and ask him when he will arrive. Guchen glanced at his watch and said with a smile, "All right." Ahu quickly took out his mobile phone and called Zhao Feng. He smiled and said, "Elder brother Feng will be here in 10 minutes. Okay, then tell the waiter to start serving in 10 minutes. Guchen nodded and said. Elder Meng got up after hearing his words and went to the reception desk to tell them the serving time, then asked them to serve some good alcohol in advance. This morning's war meant that they had won the speaking rights for the entire southern district. It was clear that even if Zhao Feng did not return, Guchen could take over the southern district on his own, so Guchen wasn't stingy about today's celebration. All the alcohol they ordered was of high quality. The brothers also knew that Guchen was about to take off, so they would definitely ask the man to treat them to a decent meal. 10 minutes later, the dishes started to be served and the alcohol was also placed in position. When the dishes had almost finished being served, Zhao Feng slowly walked in the door. Elder brother Feng. Wow! Welcome, elder brother Feng. Elder brother Feng, I love you. When Zhao Feng arrived, many people began cheering. Zhao Feng had a good relationship with them before, and he saved them from the depths of despair. Despite some difficulties, everyone bore this in mind. For them, Zhao Feng was a hero, so even the quieter people began shouting when he appeared. Under the cheers of the crowd, Zhao Feng smiled and kept nodding his head as he walked towards Guchen. Come on, I'm gonna get you drunk tonight. Guchen smiled and said. After inviting Zhao Feng to sit beside him, Guchen picked up a glass of alcohol, stood up, scanned the crowd, and shouted out, the first glass is to our hero, Zhao Feng. Cheers. The crowd drank the first glass of alcohol at the same time. Zhao Feng, you should also say something, Guchen said. I do have something to say. Zhao Feng nodded, stood up with his glass in his hand, and said, to you, my brothers, I take this first drink. All right. After he finished, Zhao Feng's eyes swept over Ahu, Elder Meng, and everyone else who was present. When he saw Zhao Feng's look, Guchen had an ominous feeling. Why does he seem to have something important to announce? His instinct was right. Zhao Feng cheerfully said, we will drink to our heart's content tonight, but before that, I have to say one thing. I want to open a company, a security company. It's not intended to guard others. The company only serves one family, that is, my boss's family. I am only establishing this security company out of my affection for you, my brothers. I guess you guys must have an idea of my previous strength. I was not a match for Wang Xingshan before, so why was I able to defeat him this time? It's because of my boss. Zhao Feng was very emotional while talking. It can be said that the master gave him a new life, enabling him to reach a level that was inaccessible to him before. He bore this in mind deeply. After taking a deep breath, Zhao Feng slowly said, I can tell you that my boss is a very, very powerful person. He is so powerful that you can't even begin to imagine it. Upon my application, he agreed to let me run the company, so I'm informing you about this before our party. I can't tell you too much. You just need to know that I have only spent a few days with my boss and my fighting ability has already increased 10 times more than before. After hearing Zhao Feng's words, most of the people present widened their eyes, who didn't want to have a strong body and become a well-known figure among the underground forces. They all had the heroic dream of traveling around the world with a blue shirt and a sword. At this moment, they were obsessed with Zhao Feng's words. Ge Chen gave a wry smile and said, You almost persuaded me, but I have a different ambition. Zhao Feng, take it easy and leave some people for me. Chapter 216, Take her down with public opinion. It would not be so worrying for Ge Chen if Zhao Feng's cronies and his men faltered in their attitude, but when he realized that most of his men's eyes were also lighting up, he was really startled. If everyone left him and followed Zhao Feng, how would he gain a foothold in the future? He wanted a free and easy life, and could accept being one of the bosses in an association, but he did not want to officially become an employee who served a boss he was not familiar with, although the boss seemed very formidable. He did not like being restrained. After hearing Ge Chen's bitter laugh and seeing everyone's expression, Zhao Feng knew what Ge Chen was thinking. Zhao Feng gave him a reassuring look, gently coughed, and then continued speaking with a sober and deep voice. There are some requirements if you follow me. First, if you join the company, no matter what bad habits you had before, you are not allowed to swear in front of the boss once you go off on some errand. Second, since we are setting up a company, there will be a lot of rules. Those who are willing to obey rules can join. If not, talk about the worst situation at first. I'll treat you callously. Third, if you choose follow me, no matter what order I give you, you have to do it. Fourth, joining the company means bidding farewell to the lazy and enjoyable life. You will experience hard training and face other situations. Simply put, don't blame me if you are fired for fooling around. Those who can adhere to the above points can come with me. Now, if you want to join the team, stand up. Originally, most of them had been excited, but Zhao Feng's words brought them back to reality. The purpose of making a living was to enjoy a better life, which contained money, fame and wealth, status, and beautiful women. However, elder brother Feng's tone allowed them to understand that joining his group was like serving in the army. They inevitably felt a little uncomfortable, so most of them backed out. I'll be the first. The first one was always Ahu, who was often impertinent but would always stand behind Zhao Feng at crucial moments. As soon as Zhao Feng finished speaking, he stood up. He didn't know what the rules were, but he knew that following elder brother Feng was the correct choice. I'm second. Ahu, this kid always moves so fast. Elder Meng smiled and stood up. Don't talk about me like that. You also don't hesitate to act. Two others stood up with a chuckle. The four of them were Zhao Feng's followers. There were 7 people present, 4 of whom stood up without any hesitation. As for the other 3, they looked at each other and shook their heads with a smile, but decided not to stand up in the end. They had the same idea as Ge Chen. They believed the rules he spoke of would constrain them, but they were used to being at ease. These 3 people looked at Ge Chen and knew full well that elder brother Feng's had done this to split everyone here into 2 groups. From now on, he would start a company and create a formal business. while Guchen would lead his men to dominate the underground forces of the southern district and become the new leader of these forces. If they followed Guchen and made a name for themselves, they would enjoy unlimited wealth and honor. That was why they did not choose Zhao Feng. Upon realizing their choice, Hu, Elder Meng, and the other two men did not say a thing. They had the right to choose their own future. There was a saying that something done forcibly would not end well. Xuyong, however, was somewhat surprised by these people. He kept his head down and remained silent for a long time before slowly standing up with Hu and his brothers. He glanced at Guchen, then shook his head and chuckled. Elder brother Chen, I was almost killed by Lao Biao this time, and I have become tired of living such a dangerous life. Brother, you don't need to say anything else, I understand. Guchen nodded with a smile and patted Xuyong on the arm. They said, even if you go with him, we'll still be brothers. You can ask me for help whenever you get into trouble. You will not be forgotten. While speaking, Guchen clenched his right hand and pounded it several times on his left chest, expressing that he would remember those words. Great. Xuyong bellowed out a laugh, then looked at Zhao Feng and said, Elder brother Feng, I'll be one of your men from now on. Get lost, I'm not gay. Zhao Feng scolded him with a smile. He looked at Hu and said, Hu, record these people's names. Okay. Hu took out his mobile phone and started recording the names. Okay, you guys. Don't just focus on us. Are there any others who intend to join Elder Brother Feng and start a business? If there is anyone else, stand up and tell me. I will. I'll follow too. Count me in. At this point, many people began to stand up in quick succession. After he finished writing down the names, Hu finally confirmed the number of people who joined. There were 50 people in total, taken from both Zhao Feng's and Guchen's men. Zhao Feng's followers previously numbered more than 70, but only 30 chose to continue following him. In the meantime, over 20 of Guchen's men stood up, with the rest deciding to continue following Guchen. At this moment, the 50 people who had stood up did not realize that they had embarked on a different path. Those who had not stood up were also not aware of the great opportunity they had missed. Once they found out how powerful the brothers who followed Zhao Feng would become, they would definitely spare no expenses to become one of Zhao Feng's followers. But, by that time, they would discover that it was very difficult to be hired by this company. In another place far away from this exceptionally lively celebration dinner, as the time approached midnight, a video was quietly released on the internet. Generally speaking, a video might just be a flash in the pan, with only a few people actually watching it. But there was an extremely eye-catching title at the third position of the most searched hashtags on Weibo at midnight. Xian, the formerly popular star, insulted and abused the music tutors on the program. Such a controversial title attracted many people's attention, especially in the dead of night, when people lying down in bed. They enjoyed playing with their mobile phones for a while. So many people who were checking Weibo noticed this message. When they clicked in, they were able to figure out that it was a scene from the program named Floating Music. It was a program that was aired by Jiangyuan TV station and had high ratings. Upon realizing that it really was from the actual website, the people who were watching the video were all shocked. Something big must have happened. They could not help being curious about what on earth had happened. So they did not fast forward the video, watching it from beginning to end. Huh? Isn't this beauty Xian? Plenty of people had memories of Xian. After watching for a while and hearing the host's introduction, they remembered her. However, as the video began playing, the three mentors' evaluations were not aggressive. Instead, they were full of pity and guidance. The next moment, a lady rushed onto the stage and burst out with a storm of abuse at the three tutors. People generally like to stand on the side with the moral high ground, and it was obvious that Xian had deliberately caused trouble. Just because she was on the show, did that mean she could get angry at people for saying something slightly unpleasant, and why did she swear at them while on stage? Lots of people instantly become dissatisfied with Xian and Zuf. As public figures, stars affected many people with their words and actions. especially teenagers. Therefore, many people were disgusted with stars who behave badly, even if they were very beautiful. So, from the very beginning, the comments were one-sided, completely condemning Zhan. As a star, you have to be virtuous. You're the same as a skull without virtue though you're talented. It's high time to improve the environment of the entertainment circle. Nowadays, entertainers are so sensitive that people are expected to only say good things about them. If you point out their flaws, they will rush on stage and cuss at you. They might even hit people who continue to say unpleasant things. There were tens of thousands of replies to this topic within an hour. Meanwhile, Liang Mengkai was lying in her bed. She was also used to playing with her mobile phone for a while before falling asleep. After playing a round of a popular game, she opened Weibo to have a look. Hey, isn't this Zhan? After seeing this popular topic, Liang Mengkai suddenly felt startled. After watching the video again, Liang Mengkai's brows wrinkled up. Although she had not met Zhan face to face, she had heard from her brother several times that Zhan's disposition, temperament, and overall manners were all very elegant. What about this video? Liang Mengkai opened WeChat, found her brother, and sent a message. Hey, elder brother, are you asleep? Let me show you something. I'm not asleep, just send it to me. Liang Mengkai sent him the video. After watching the video, Liang Chen suddenly straightened up and was lost in thought as his eyebrows furrowed. He had a vague suspicion that this incident was tricky. Generally speaking, such an accident would not happen during a program, and the mentors would not cause trouble with people since they were not fools. However, the entertainment circle was very complicated, containing a lot of issues that the general public did not know about. Liang Chen estimated that Zhan must have gotten into trouble. It seemed like he would have to accelerate his current plans. On the other side, at a 5-star hotel in Shangjing, Zif and Zhan were sitting by the bed. The expression on Zhan's face was aloof, but Zif was livid with rage. How shameless, they're so shameless, editing the video, this makes me so mad. Zif gritted her teeth so hard that they almost cracked. This video was obviously intentional. This video was absolutely made on purpose. Because of the editing, public opinion had turned against Zif, and what Zhan said after standing up had been changed to a close-up. It was easy to see that they were trying to cause their downfalls, especially at a moment like this when Zhan was heading towards another program. If the negative impact continued to expand, the program division was likely to cancel Zhan's schedule. How can they do something like this? Zhan said with her eyebrows slightly wrinkled. She had rarely encountered this kind of trouble before. Why was she constantly getting slandered ever since she returned? Who was it that was out to get her? Something must be wrong. Why was the video listed in the most searched hashtags all of a sudden? I'm speechless. Zif said angrily, I'll make a public announcement and tell everyone about their shameless behavior. It's no use. Zhan sighed softly and said in a somewhat low tone, I have only 5 million followers on Weibo, and most of them are zombie fans. Even if you say something, it won't have an effect. Besides, if you do say something, people will probably think we have a guilty conscience. Let's ignore it and wait till tomorrow. Chapter 217, Zhao Feng is upset. Oh, I'm really upset. Zif picked up a pillow and bit it. After chewing on it for a while to vent her anger, she helplessly said, we don't even have a public relations team at the moment. This is so annoying. In general, Zif's job was to arrange the schedule for Zhan and act as an assistant. Public opinion and publicity on the internet, however, would require a public relations team. A good public relations team could turn a pig into someone with influence by hyping them up. Public relations was of great significance. But Zhan and Zif were currently being isolated. They had no choice but to be at the company's disposal and appear on a show. From midnight until 2 o'clock in the evening, the number of comments at the bottom of the video gradually decreased, but Li Cheng, the obese man, and other two all knew that this was just a prelude. After the dawn of the next day, the popularity of that video would peak. After being suppressed by public opinion, Xian was likely to face a lot of trouble in the future. At 6 o'clock the next morning, Meng Meng opened her big eyes all of a sudden, and then looked around in a daze. She curled her small mouth and began to cry. Whoosh. Zhang Han opened his eyes, sat up, and held Meng Meng in his arms. It took less than a second for him to complete this series of actions. What's wrong with you, Meng Meng? Did you have a bad dream? Don't be afraid, Papa is here. Zhang Han said in a soft tone while stroking Meng Meng's head. What? Meng Meng's crying became weaker as she said in a choked voice, Papa, I'm so afraid. Don't be scared. Papa can get rid of the bad guys in your dream with a slap, Zhang Han said with a chuckle while waving his palms. Look at me, hoo, ha, ho, I can easily beat the bad guys up and send them away. What? Whoa? Meng Meng stopped crying, but her eyes were still brimming with tears. She looked up at Zhang Han innocently and spoke with certain hesitancy in her voice. But the bad guy is Grandpa. What? Zhang Han was slightly stunned. Then he said with a laugh, Did Meng Meng dream of Grandpa? You haven't seen him, so how did you dream about him? And why did you cry after dreaming about Grandpa? Papa, Grandpa is so scary. Meng Meng broke free from Zhang Han's embrace, then sat down beside him and reached out with her small arms to make gestures. He has 2 big horns growing out of his head and he's humongous, even bigger than Big Hai, and, unlike us, his face is blue. He also has long hair and a tail. He said he likes eating children, and his teeth are really long, and he wanted to bite Meng Meng. Ahem. Zhang Han became somewhat stiff with only his mouth trembling slightly as he spoke in a helpless tone. Meng Meng, are you talking about the story Papa told you last night? It was an orc rather than a human being. Your grandfather is definitely human. I take after your grandfather. Why haven't I seen him and Grandma? Doesn't Meng Meng have grandparents? Yi Han has grandparents. Meng Meng pouted, with an unhappy look on her face. Yes, of course. Zhang Han fondled Meng Meng's head and said in a low voice, Your grandparents are very nice, but they live far away. However, Papa will pick them up in a year and Meng Meng will be able to see them then. Really? Really? Meng Meng's big eyes were shining. Yeah? Zhang Han nodded solemnly. Will my grandparents like Meng Meng when they see me? Meng Meng showed signs of worry. She pouted and continued speaking with her small hands clasped together. What if they don't like Meng Meng? That won't happen. Zhang Han said with a smile. Meng Meng is the cutest girl in the world, so they will definitely like Meng Meng. Auntie Fei Fei said that my maternal grandparents don't like children. Mama always went out of the room so they would not hear me when she called them. Meng Meng said unhappily. Well, they will like you once they meet you. Zhang Han was lost in thought for a moment. According to Meng Meng's words, Xian's family did not know about Meng Meng. She must have had her own difficulties since she had given birth on her own without the father's presence. Moreover, although Zhang Han did not know where Xian came from, judging from Xian's style and elegant posture, he knew that she was certainly not the daughter of an ordinary family. However, he did not intend to delve too deeply into these things. Zhang Han had yet to find his own parents yet, so he was not ready to start worrying about other trivial matters. We should get up and Papa will help you get changed. Wang Yihan will be here soon. It will be embarrassing if she arrives and finds out that you are still in bed, Zhang Han said while laughing. Let's get up and change into some beautiful clothes. When she heard about Wang Yihan, Meng Meng cheered up, then stood up hastily and asked him to help her get changed. Zhang Han opened the wardrobe, in which 98% of the clothes belonged to Meng Meng, 1.9% belonged to Xian, and the remaining 2 sets, occupying 0.1%, belonged to Zhang Han. He took out a set of blue casual clothes and some sportswear for Meng Meng. Having approached the bed, He took Meng Meng's bare pajamas off first and changed her into the blue sportswear. Zhang Han quickly put on some clothes, washed up, and then came downstairs. Meng Meng watched TV on the sofa, as usual, while Zhang Han was prepared breakfast in the kitchen. At nearly 7 o'clock, Zhao Feng arrived at the restaurant. He went straight to the kitchen counter and said, "Master, the security group has been settled. Altogether, there are 50 people, all of whom are my former brothers and can be trusted." "Okay." Zhang Han nodded calmly. "I intend to arrange formal training for them so they can enhance their personal fighting capacity. Then I will design lessons on etiquette and professional knowledge related to working in a security company. On that note, I don't think they should study in Fengming nightclub. Should we rent an office building? What do you think, Master?" Zhao Feng asked. "How many women are in this group?" Zhang Han asked, then turned his head and looked at Zhao Feng. He was not very interested in this security company. It was only created for the purpose of arranging some female bodyguards for Xian so that Zhang Han could feel a little more relaxed. Since Xian insisted on working, it would be reassuring to have her go out with a few of his people. "Only 6 women," Zhao Feng said with a guilty tone. These 6 women had been dragged in by Zhao Feng. "That's enough." Zhang Han nodded his head, then said, "You don't need to worry about improving their personal fighting capacity. I remember that there is an area of sand at the foot of the mountain behind New Moon Bay. Gather them together there and I will teach you all some techniques. You should see about renting a decent office building and opening a bar." "Okay, okay," Zhao Feng said in surprise. "Master, were you able to find some skills that can be taught? There have always been plenty, but these are all too low level. They can practice these first though," Zhang Han replied casually. "Too low." After a pause, Zhao Feng said, "Master, are you going to teach them? What about me? Should I learn the skills along with them or?" "Ha, ha, ha." Zhao Feng's words amused Zhang Han, so he shook his head and said, "You need to learn a presentable skill, and I have already chosen it. Considering your physical abilities, I think you will just barely be able to practice the simplified version." "That's great." After hearing what he said, Zhao Feng was overjoyed and asked, "What's the name of the martial arts skill that you intend to teach me, Master?" "Big Dark Devil Shadow." "It sounds really ambitious, Master. You're so awesome. What level of skill is it?" Zhao Feng said with excitement. "It's only a slightly advanced skill from a devil in the shadow refining world. It pursues speed and strength. Because you have drunk the Jade Fire Dew, your physical quality has improved a lot and will allow you to practice the simplified version with a little difficulty. Once you reach the Chi refining stage and begin cultivating the Devil Shadow tactic, you can cultivate Big Dark Devil Shadow." Zhang Han gave a simple explanation. Zhao Feng was in a daze, but several characters kept popping into his mind. Big Dark Devil Shadow, the skill of a devil from the shadow refining world, speed, strength, Jade Fire Dew, Devil Shadow tactic. Oh, my god, I'm finally was going to be able to improve. Ha, 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 I'll get revenge on you once I successfully finish cultivating this skill. Ha, ha. Having thought for a while, Zhao Feng giggled and was overjoyed. Zhang Han, however, poured cold water on his happiness. "If you want to defeat Dai, you will need to reach the Chi refining stage at the very least." "Ha ha, hic?" Zhao Feng froze and was mentally injured. "Master, why is Dai so formidable? Only Chi strength masters can beat him, right?" Zhao Feng said while twisting his mouth. Zhang Han directly nodded. He meant that only a superior martial artist like a Chi strength master could beat Dai, but there might be many peak strength warriors who could match up against Dai. If the peak strength warrior had a magic weapon, Dai would be in trouble. Although Dai was invulnerable, he could only resist normal knives and pistols. If they had higher level weapons, Dai would not be able to defend against them. After hearing Zhang Han's answer, Zhao Feng froze for 2 seconds, then he chuckled and said, "Fine, I will learn step by step. It will be great to no longer be knocked back 7 or 8 meters when I'm pushed by Dai. After he finished speaking, Zhao Feng walked back to the table with a smile while radiating a happy demeanor. Breakfast was the same as usual, so the restaurant was filled with people. There were more and more people waiting in line. Some new diners even came from other regions to have a taste. This phenomenon also showed that the impact was still spreading. There were more than 30 people waiting in line in front of the gate, most of whom were so bored that they were playing with their mobile phones. Some people had nothing to do, so they started checking their Weibo, only to notice that the incident with Xian had occupied the first position of the most searched hashtags. Xian is as beautiful as ever, but her popularity is too low now. Why do they seem to be so unpleasant on this show? Two young men were muttering softly in front of the window. Since Meng Meng and Wang Yihan were chatting happily, they did not notice anything, but Zhang Han heard them. In the meantime, having had her simple breakfast, Xiao Li, an employee of a company in Jiangyuan City, took a taxi to the company because she had no time. Xiao Li felt bored, so she was playing with her mobile phone in the back seat of the taxi. Isn't this the incident that happened the day when I was at the studio? Chapter 218, To Call Black White. After discovering the video, Xiao Li clicked on it out of curiosity to have a look. Her brows wrinkled up after she discovered that their video had been edited. Why have their comments been cut out? It seems like they want to cheat others. Xiao Li opened the comment area, only to find that most of the people supported the three mentors. This video alone really did make the three mentors seem reasonable, but the truth was not what it appeared to be on the surface. Xiao Li played the video saved in her mobile phone, which was a full version, and watched it again. After she finished watching it, she became silent. Should she post it? She was a little hesitant because she was not a busybody, but she subconsciously took a look at the three mentors' Weibo. As a result, she noticed that each of the three of them had released a sanctimonious message earlier in the morning, which briefly accused Xian of having a bad attitude. They are taking this a little over the top. Xiao Li grunted, hesitating for a minute with her eyebrows raised. In the end, she finally decided to post the full version of the video that she had saved in her mobile phone onto her Weibo. The full version of the incident relating to Xian happened in the Jiangyuan TV station. Because Xiao Li liked to use Weibo, she had gained about 10,000 followers. Although the quantity was not large, she did have many V-level fans. After seeing the message for the video, they clicked on it with curiosity. Interesting. Once this video spreads, it'll produce a strong reaction from the public. Plenty of influencers forwarded it because this incident was very popular and they would also get many followers by right of this video. Because of that, this video spread rapidly from mouth to mouth, taking merely 2 hours to reach the 10th place on the most searched hashtags. This video immediately came to the attention of those who denounced Xian's attitude and caused them to stop talking. It seemed like the evaluations of those two mentors went too far, but the woman who rushed out from behind scolded them excessively. Although the video had calmed down a lot of the people denouncing her, most people just stopped condemning her and still supported the mentors. They thought the mentors in the program were like teachers, so you had to respect them and listen modestly even if they criticized you. Only less than 1/10 of the people supported Xian, not only because they were former fans of Xian, but also because they truly believed that the mentors' words went too far. The programs were shown to people, so why didn't they try to create a cheerful atmosphere? Why did they make such offensive remarks? No matter how netizens chose, this incident was completely hyped up. However, the full version of the video did relieve Xian and Zuf. The fact that public opinion was becoming violent exerted a lot of pressure on them. In this era, the power of netizens was very strong. If the comments were totally one-sided, the turmoil was likely to affect Xian's program in Shangjing. Fortunately, the full version was released. Xian believed that people had a sense of natural justice, but she did not expect that the three mentors had no moral compass. In the luxurious rooms of the Hongyuan Club in Jiangyuan City, the obese man, the thin man with glasses, and the middle-aged man with cropped hair had gathered together. Fuck, what a meddlesome bastard. After the three men watched the full version of the video, the emaciated man with glasses cursed. Fortunately, we have prepared ahead of time. There's no point in releasing the full version. The obese man hissed. Send the message first. The man with cropped hair took out a laptop, opened his Weibo, and posted a message. The video released last night was indeed clipped. When we got the video, it had already been clipped. This episode of the program would have been broadcast normally, but on account of its bad impact, the scenes of Xian were all edited directly. Everyone knows that we are really angry since we scolded like this, but the main reason was that we wanted the vast majority of netizens to see the behavior of bad entertainers and their true colors. The words and deeds of some artists should really be rectified to show people a pure entertainment circle. I don't believe these words myself, but money makes the world go round. The man with cropped hair smiled with all sorts of feelings as he posted the message. I've sent the message to. If Xian and her agent see it, they will probably be infuriated. The obese man laughed and showed his computer screen to the man with cropped hair. Oh, you're very capable when it comes to making up stories, you even almost fooled me. The man with cropped hair praised him while clapping his hands. A Weibo message. We wanted to smooth things over, but after much deliberation, we think the video must be exposed so that everyone can decide whether my personal evaluation went too far. Not only our peers, but also the vast number of netizens know that her songs are of poor quality. In truth, this female artist is a complete fake. What she did is completely beyond my comprehension. When the three of us went backstage to greet her, she did not even move her hands in acknowledgement. She just looked down on us with a cold expression. This artist is out of line. After reading the message of the obese man, the two men happened to gather together beside the man with glasses. The man with glasses did live up to his 400-degree myopic lens. He wrote a long speech of more than 1,000 words, describing them as people of high morals while accusing Xian and Zuf of being abominable. A hint of tact can be seen between the lines. You write so well that you can become a poser. The obese man gave him a compliment. Ha, ha, I just want to take advantage of this opportunity to undermine her. I think we can make mincemeat of her this time around. As for the two programs of Shangjing, Mr. Lee has also arranged people to criticize her. It will be hard for her to continue her acting career. The man with glasses smiled contemptuously and dropped his upraised palm to click on the drop-down screen and send the message. Each of them only had over 100,000 followers on Weibo. As with Xiaoli's video, in spite of the small number, the message was forwarded directly by plenty of influencers. Therefore, it spread abroad within hours. After all, netizens paid great attention to these incidents. Some people felt joyful on account of these messages, while some others felt depressed. In a deluxe suite of the 5-star Yuelong Hotel in Shangjing. They're so shameless. Ah, how can these people do something like this? This is slander. Zif angrily threw her mobile phone. She was so angry that she wanted to scratch their eyes out. At the same time, Xian sat on the side in silence. However, her anger was revealed by her dreadful breathing and cold eyes at this moment. Fi. As soon as I finish recording the program, we will sue them. Xian said coldly. Elder sister Yan, in light of public opinion, I don't know if this program will still go as scheduled, Zif said, feeling lightheaded. Ding. While speaking, Xian's cell phone rang, so she answered the phone. As she listened to the words from the phone, Xian's eyebrows gradually began to furrow. Tomorrow's program was postponed until the day after tomorrow, as expected. Moreover, whether Xian could be on the program would be discussed by the program division. That was to say, the program division wanted to wait and see. If public opinion on the internet became more and more negative, they would not allow Xian to take part in the program. If the consensus quieted down, Xian would have an opportunity to be on the show and they could achieve a higher audience rating in light of this hot topic. Inside the Hong Kong Royal Entertainment Company, Li Cheng was smoking while sitting in Makey's office chair, while Makey stood behind him, kneading his shoulders. I didn't expect those three to be so efficient. Xian has received so much criticism that even if the program of Shangjing has postponed the screening, Makey said with a chuckle. That's right, their speed indeed surprises me, but I'm so content. Li Cheng shook his head and smiled, saying slowly, the two men on the program in Shangjing want to charge a lot, so this saved me a lot of money. I guess she will not be on the program in Shangjing once we take advantage of this hot topic. I'll talk with her again when she returns. It seems like she will be cheated. She will eventually be seized by you, you lustful guy. Makey said with a laugh, looking a little flattered. Don't worry, even after I get her, no one can shake your position as director. Li Cheng said, patting Makey's hand. Your heart is in the right place, Makey said wittily. In their opinion, Xian was already in the bag. Li Cheng was waiting for his chance to get Xian, but he never suspected that Xian already had a child and had found her kid's dad, who was really formidable. He could never have imagined that he would lose everything because of his lust. Indulging in lust is equivalent to hanging a knife over your head. This saying was somewhat reasonable. At this moment, inside Meng Meng's leisure restaurant, after breakfast, Meng Meng and Wang Yihan, accompanied by Su Yu, played with toys. Zhang Han sat for a moment and then went to the second floor. He opened his laptop and logged onto his Weibo. The mere sight of it was enough to shock him. The incident at the Jiangyuan TV station ranked first in the most searched hashtags, while the full version of the video had risen to 7th, and the tags ranked 8th to 10th were about the messages released by the three men. It seems like she got into some trouble. Remembering Xian's delicate and touching sob from the other day, Zhang Han arched his eyebrows, showing an air of majesty that contained coldness and an immortal spirit. After watching the video which occupied the first position in the most researched hashtags, he naturally understood that the main focus of the video was aimed at Xian and Zuf. Zhang Han sized up the comments and associated pages, then he played the full version of the video that ranked 5th in the most searched hashtags. After watching it, Zhang Han finally knew what had happened. After that, Zhang Han checked those three men's Weibo again and picked up his cell phone to dial the number of Xian. Hello, Zhang Han. Xian's voice was still crisp and pleasing to the ear, but there was a sense of exhaustion in her tone. You may as well come back. Chapter 219, A few words make a splash. After a little silence, Zhang Han spat out those simple but meaningful 6 words. Hearing what he said, Xian shuddered as her heart gradually melted. She was so worn out that she just wanted a solid pair of arms to hold her now. Although Zhang Han was not around, his words made her feel much better. No. Xian gently pursed her thin lips and muttered, I don't want to give up halfway, and I believe a rainbow always follows after the rain even though I'm facing a difficult situation right now. I can also give you the biggest and best rainbow once you come back, Zhang Han said in a low voice. In Zhang Han's eyes, even if Xian did not sign on with the company, she could easily claim the top spot as a movie queen with his support. Xian, however, did not understand. She certainly did not realize how formidable Zhang Han was, so she snorted softly at this point and said, I don't want to talk about work. Let's chat about something else. Is Meng Meng being obedient these days? Did she miss me? Have you prepared anything delicious for her? Although Zhang Han did not say that the stars were players recently, Xian always believed that Zhang Han looked down upon the entertainment circle. Therefore, she did not like to talk about her job when she was with Zhang Han, or perhaps she subconsciously avoided the contentious topics. However, Xian did not know that Zhang Han was not just disdainful to the entertainment circle, it was the same for other things as well. After hearing Xian's question, Zhang Han shook his head, then smiled and said, Meng Meng has always been a good girl and misses you every day. Recently I made roast duck for her. After chatting for about 10 minutes with Xian in this way, Zhang Han went downstairs to give Meng his mobile phone so the two of them could chat. Zhang Han went back upstairs, sat in front of his laptop, and opened his Weibo. At this moment, the number of Zhang Han's followers had stabilized at 60 million, which meant that he was a rare super popular user. But Zhang Han was calm when he saw it. He pressed his right hand on the wireless mouse and forwarded the full version of the video with the following words. "Impressive. Do these stupid pigs think they have an ear for music?" Then he posted it. It was the second message released by Zhang Han, which was very conspicuous on the main page. What did having 60 million followers mean? In fact, nowadays, most influencers only had 3 to 5 million followers. The top influencers would have 10 to 20 million followers, and the numbers of some popular stars' followers ranged from 30 million to over 90 million, but no more than 100 million. It was understandable that a person who had more than 60 million followers was indeed outstanding. Therefore, when Zhang Han posted this message, large quantities of people instantly saw it. My gosh, Han Yang posted a message on Weibo. My god, he finally posted his second message. I thought Han Yang had stopped using Weibo. Hey, isn't this from that fast from that program on the Xuanhuan TV station? Puff. Master Han said the three mentors were stupid pigs. At first, people paid significant attention to the fact that Han Yang posted a message. After watching the video, however, they began to attach great importance to the content of the video. Han Yang is so imposing and straightforward. I like him. Those three men are really like silly pigs. That's true. I have never heard of the three men. Have you heard of them? Under this message lied a long line of the same replies. No. Since Master Han said that these mentors did not know music, their evaluations are likely nonsense. They should be banned for their malicious comments. That's correct. Master Han is someone who knows music very well. His words show that the three mentors are useless. Maybe they pulled a few strings to get their positions. Well, they want to have their cake and eat it too. It's funny to see them criticizing others when they don't even understand music. Nearly 100,000 comments and 300,000 likes were left on Zhang Han's Weibo within about 10 minutes. However, it was still morning and the netizens were not active. Around 12 o'clock, when people were having lunch or taking a break, the people who saw the message at this moment tore into it. After watching the video carefully for a few minutes, they understood that Xian was the one who had actually been treated unfairly. So those who had denounced Xian before all got angry. I misjudged them. They're nobodies. How did they become mentors with poor abilities? It's obviously questionable. The three of them aren't good people. Bad guys always cause trouble. Are tutors so conceited these days? Xuanhuan TV station is really powerful. It invited three unknown but arrogant people. Everyone not only had their own point of view, but also had an understanding of the rise and fall of people. Therefore, after watching the edited version of the video in the morning, they denounced Xian. As beautiful as she was on the outside, everyone preferred to see the beauty on the inside. But when they saw the full video and found out the video by the three mentors was edited on purpose to cause a misunderstanding, the balance in their hearts began to shift. At this time, the Weibo message from Zhang Han was like throwing a bomb into a lake that already had some small waves. It completely raised huge waves. Many people learned about this and followed the large force to denounce the three tutors. This message rose to the 8th place on the most searched hashtags in a short period of time, namely, the divine songwriter Han Yang angrily criticizes the three mentors involved in the matter of the Xuanhuan TV station. The news spread fast, and Zuf, who was concerned about the event, also noticed. When she saw this message, her eyes gradually widened. Ah! Zuf suddenly let out a cry. What's wrong with you? Why are you so excited? Xian was startled and gave her an angry stare. Elder sister Yan, look, my god, an important person has stepped forward to help us. Zif quickly handed over her mobile phone. When Xian saw the message, She was also shocked. "He's Han Yang," he said. "I did a good job. Ha, 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 that's so great. He's a man with discerning eyes. It's so kind of Han Yang, and I'll be his loyal fan in the future because of this message." Zif said, dancing with joy. "You're exaggerating." Xian was also relieved. While looking at the ecstatic Zif, she grinned lightly. "My reaction is no exaggeration. Elder sister Yan, look at the following comments. All of them support us. The three swines will have to be worried now. This is great." Zif threw back her head and roared with laughter. Compared with the atmosphere here, the situation at the Jiangyuan TV station on the other side was quite relaxed. The three men were still sitting and chatting with each other. "Tutors, I think you should look at Weibo first." A staff member suddenly came over all of a sudden and said that to them after a slight pause. "What's happening on Weibo?" The obese man said inexplicably and took out his mobile phone. Upon checking Weibo, he was shocked. When he saw a lot of denunciations below his message, his face took on a ghastly expression. "What's the matter?" the man with glasses asked in a hurry. "You should check your Weibo," the obese man said, waving his hands. After hearing his words, the two men took out their cell phones one after the other. They both fell silent after they finished checking it out. "What the fuck? Who's Han Yang? Isn't it an insult to say that we are stupid pigs? We should sue him." The man with cropped hair cursed in rage. "We will definitely sue him, but public opinion is currently against us. If it isn't stopped in time, it will continue to get worse and will even affect us in the end," the man with glasses said with furrowed eyebrows. "It doesn't matter." The obese man was staring as he solemnly said, "Han Yang only emerged recently. When we were engaged in music, he was probably playing in the mud. Ho, we should call our friends at this point. He just denounced us, so let's compete with him on the number of people involved in this battle who support us." The obese man sneered as he made several phone calls. So did the man with glasses and the man with cropped hair. They called their friends and told them the details. After a moment, some noteless figures denounced Han Yang on Weibo. "How can Han Yang, as a junior, evaluate seniors in this way? I can see what kind of person he is since he said stupid pigs. Young people shouldn't be so arrogant. He just gained some popularity. Complacence and arrogance will be his downfall. I really don't know why Han Yang is so confident." Most of these people were engaged in the music industry and had some fans. However, compared with the number of Zhang Han's followers on Weibo, the number of their total followers was less than 1/10 of his. Even so, their comments spread. These comments made Weibo lively today. It was obvious that a cyber war was about to start. However, they completely underestimated the power of the name Han Yang. It did not take long for more and more people to pay attention to find out about this incident after Zhang Han posted that message. At this point, in a hotel in Ice City, old X, take a look at Weibo. Li Fan said to Xqian, who was looking a music score. "What's the matter?" Xqian took out his mobile phone in curiosity. After he spent some time checking it, his brows gradually wrinkled up. After digesting the information, Xqian closed his eyes, took a deep breath, opened his eyes, then typed and posted a few words without hesitation. Although the songs sung by Xian in the TV station aren't top quality, it showed her outstanding singing skills. I don't know why she got such unbelievable evaluations. Have the mentors of the program been hoodwinked by outside interests? This message could be said to be very simple and straightforward. When he posted it, Li Fan commented with some hesitation. "Isn't that too straightforward? Do you mind if I post a euphemistic reply that hints at what you want to say?" Fan Li thought that this straightforward message would offend the three mentors directly and might even cause dissatisfaction from Jiangyuan TV station. If he posted a more euphemistic reply, they would turn a blind eye to it. But Xqian shook his head directly and said, "No. Well." Li Fan shook his head helplessly. Chapter 220. The chief operator is furious. Of course, not only Xuanhuan, but also almost all of those who had received Zhang Han's songs came forward. The messages they issued, without exception, all supported Xuanhuan. Although they did not seem to criticize those music mentors, there was a certain level of sarcasm written between the lines. Zhang Han gave out a total of 50 songs, with the exception of a few who knew the 3 tutors. Nearly 40 people posted messages. Because of these messages, netizens made a scene on Weibo. After merely a few hours, the tag Han Yang angrily criticizes the 3 tutors directly reached the top of the most searched hashtags and was even mentioned in the headlines of all major search websites. Their titles were various. Han Yan, who is on the rise, takes action again. He doesn't release songs this time but criticizes the 3 mentors of a music program released by Xuanhuan TV station. Han Yang's roar shakes Xuanhuan TV station. He backs Xuanhuan, the hero saves the beauty. After a few days, Han Yang sends a message again. Is this the beginning of an epic love story? Since the message attracted a lot of attention, those astute media outlets decided to take advantage of it. Although the content was the same, their titles would vary from outlet to outlet, drawing in a wide variety of attention. At 10 o'clock in the evening, the tempest became increasingly fierce. More interestingly, some famous stars also posted messages on Weibo. The phrasing of some of the messages was ambiguous, conveying vague thoughts. However, some of these stars were straightforward, satirizing the 3 mentors directly. In their view, the person who could produce 50 fine songs in a few days must be talented and was bound to have an ear for music. They were fond of and look forward to Han Yang, and hoped to cooperate with him on a song in the future. Furthermore, they thought that the evaluations of the 3 mentors were somewhat strange. Although their levels of musical ability were not high, they also knew something about music. The extremely poor evaluation had already revealed a serious problem. Taking all these factors into consideration, they decided to support Han Yang when they updated their Weibo, which also helped them to obtain many followers. Meanwhile, the program division of Happy Show at Shangjing TV station held an emergency video conference. Staring at his notebook, the chief director of the program sent out an order. I have paid close attention to the development of the incident relating to Xuanhuan TV station and found that almost every netizen is denouncing the 3 music tutors. Under the leadership of Han Yang, a storm is washing over Weibo. That's right, there are more and more people supporting Xuanhuan now. I just learned that the number of Xuanhuan's followers has exceeded 10 million, said one of the men in a white shirt. I really didn't expect that this incident would be full of twists and turns. I never expected Han Yang's words to be so effective. What a wonderful person. It goes without saying that if Han Yang advertises himself and takes part in several shows, he will win the award for the best songwriter this year. People expressed some wonder to each other. They were shocked when they found out that Han Yang could make such a big splash with so few words. The staff of Xuanhuan TV station will probably have a headache. The chief director smiled and shook his head, then said, I'll announce a few things that need to be handled as soon as possible. This episode of Happy Show should be brought forward from the day after tomorrow to tomorrow afternoon. Inform Xuanhuan and the others to start getting ready and that I'll give you 2 days for post-production after they finish recording. This episode will be broadcast this weekend and the episode fixed for this week should be postponed until next week. We should take advantage of this hot topic as well. Okay. Yep. Everyone nodded in succession and began to work. On the other side, in the hotel room Xuanhuan was staying in, the 2 of them felt completely relieved. Since she was in a good mood, Zif was busy paying attention to the trends while watching a movie. As for Xuanhuan, she was quietly listening to music. Ding! Zif's cell phone rang all of a sudden. She answered the phone and talked for a while before hanging up with happiness shining from her face. Elder sister Yan, there's some good news. You can take part in this program as planned and it'll be recorded tomorrow afternoon. Oh. Xuanhuan responded calmly, although her face had an expression of serenity. There was still joy in her eyes. She took out her mobile phone and dialed Zhang Han's number. "Hey, Zhang Han, I've got some good news to tell you. The program will be shot tomorrow afternoon as scheduled, so I should be able to return the day after tomorrow. By the way, do you know Han Yang, the songwriter who wrote 50 new songs? He's so awesome, he was willing to come forward and support me. Now the problem is much easier to deal with. Hey, why aren't you talking?" Zhang Han smiled and thought about it for a moment, but he decided not to tell her that he was Han Yang. He thought that telling her now would seem too calculating, so he decided to let everything fall into place on its own. With that in mind, Zhang Han smiled, then replied, "That's great. You're so apathetic. I don't want to talk to you anymore. I want to talk to Meng Meng." Xian grunted lightly to express her dissatisfaction. Although she said so, she secretly wanted to talk with Zhang Han some more. Zhang Han, however, directly handed the mobile phone to Meng Meng, who was playing on the bed. Mama, I miss you." It left no time for Xian to feel pity. Upon hearing Meng Meng's voice, she smiled and started to chat with her. They did not hang up the phone until 11 o'clock, while lying in Zhang Han's arms and listening to a story. Meng Meng gradually fell asleep. During the dead of night, most people had fallen asleep, but the three men were still awake. As of now, they had gathered together in the house of the man with glasses. Each of them was sitting on a chair in the living room, wearing a sad face. What the fuck? How did things develop to this point? There were a lot of people who supported us originally, but now all the netizens are scolding us, as well as the people we previously asked to help us. They deleted all their messages on Weibo and keep sneering at us. That's enough. Is it only because of a single message from Han Yang? Why is he so influential? The man with cropped hair said worriedly. Ha, ha. The man with glasses sneered and said, "I'm sorry, he's indeed formidable. A single Weibo message from him was enough to appeal to so many people and cause them to denounce us. He's so popular, this is the reality. It's no use saying this now. What can we do to solve this problem? Here's what I think." The man with cropped hair glared and shouted, "Have you still not come up with an idea? Even though we've been sitting here from noon to midnight, isn't it because of the person you introduced us to? What, are you blaming me? You accepted the money faster than any of us, so how can you blame me? Are you kidding?" The man with glasses said in an angry tone, "Who's trying to be funny? You pretend to be an intellectual all the time while giving out advice." Realizing that these two were about to quarrel, the obese man patted the table with his hand and growled, "Stop bickering. Do you think you have time for that? Are you not worried?" After yelling, he lit a cigarette for himself and started smoking it, then said, "We don't have a solution, so we have to wait and see. The disturbance will probably quiet down in a day or two. Don't worry and just focus on doing what we should do. Fuck. I will beat Han Yang if I get a chance in the future." Well, that's the only way. The two men sighed softly and were no longer in the mood to quarrel. They both became silent. They thought that this matter would calm down in a day or two. After all, there were too many things happening in the entertainment circle every day, which distracted people's attention. Once that happened, this issue would come to an end. However, they did not expect that when they updated the most searched hashtags after midnight, the message titled Han Yang angrily criticizes the three mentors still occupied the first position. Nothing happened during the night. The next morning, when the three men arrived at the company, almost everyone passing by looked at them strangely, which made them feel very uncomfortable. They came to the video studio to record the program as usual. In the TV station, their immediate supervisor, Deputy Operator Zheng, was asked to come to the conference room. The chief operator and about 12 or 13 other senior officials from the TV station were sitting in the conference room. The chief operator's expression was downcast, which showed that he was not in a good mood. The meeting will start discussing the current topic once everyone has finished gathering. The chief operator was a bald man that was almost 50 years old. At this point, he spoke with a solemn voice. Today's meeting is about the incident related to Xian and the program named Floating Music, which has caused a lot of uproar in the past 2 days. Deputy Operator Ma, please give me a reasonable explanation for the poor evaluations given by the 3 mentors. I remember that you recommended them. His question humiliated Deputy Operator Ma, who secretly gritted his teeth and replied, Chief Operator, these 3 mentors were senior musicians who have been involved in the music industry. That's not what I asked you. Didn't you understand my question? The Chief Operator frowned and said in a deep voice, I am asking why they gave such puzzling evaluations. How do I know, Chief Operator? Why don't you ask the 3 of them in person? Deputy Operator Ma felt a loss of face. Although the superiors crush the inferiors, Deputy Operator Ma had his own patron. He, therefore, was not afraid of the Chief Operator. Everyone else, who was here, however, had to move cautiously. The Chief Operator and Deputy Operator Ma were at the highest positions in the TV station. With the 2 of them in diametric opposition to each other, no one dared to say a word for fear that the anger would be transferred to them. Ask them in person? Ha, ha, ha. The Chief Operator put on an artificial smile and shook his head. He picked up the paper on the table and said, the matter has been completely hyped up since Han Yang posted his message on Weibo yesterday. With the help of nearly 50 people such as Xuanhuan, 80 million people have started paying attention to this incident. What does that mean? Many netizens left comments to denounce the 3 mentors under their Weibo messages last night, and they ignored them. But what happened? Our TV station's official ID received over 10 million messages, all of which were denouncements, yet none of you here informed me about it. Do you think this matter will disappear if you wait long enough? Let me tell you something. I heard that the administration has received more than 1 million reports. The Chief Operator was so furious that he slapped the paper on the table and angrily said, what have you done? Why didn't you inform me about something like this, that could have been brushed under the rug as long as the mentors admitted their faults, until it got out of hand?